Decide. Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. You know, it's connecting so fast now, it's confusing me, but I guess I shouldn't complain. How have you been? Looks like it's going to be some kind of a UFO season this week or something. I don't know if you heard, but the rumor has it that one of the Tennessee legislative representatives invited a bunch of pastors to a meeting where he told them that UFO disclosure is coming and it's going to be wild and they need to prepare their parishioners for handling it. So I don't know if they're going to walk that back, but that's a lot. And supposedly, who was it, that guy Burke? He was the representative from Tennessee. Rumor has it he was there. Rumor has it that they said that they have crashed UFOs and there were alien bodies, and one of them was like the reptile style of alien. I heard that one. So, I mean, like, I don't think a whole bunch of pastors just ran forward and lied about this because, you know, they would get caught so quickly if it wasn't true. I mean, Burke would just come out and say, "No, wouldn't he?" I mean, it's crazy. Burke hasn't denied it. So, I think something's going to go down here. Now, rumor was it was within 60 to 90 days they were going to release it. So, if they were going to release it and then it was too wild, I could see that maybe they would want to like give people time to think about it. Anyway, you know, I've always been interested in UFOs, but the reason I didn't really spend a lot of time on it is it was always little tiny lights in the sky. Who knows what the F those are, but you could never find out anything else. I'm like, all right, so there's little tiny lights in the sky, blurry photos like Bigfoot, and a lot of liars, and you can never get past that before. That was all you could ever learn, you know, like with any kind of confidence. But we might be getting to the time now where I might expand the channel a little if like weird stuff really happens. Aliens! That's my icebreaker. Aliens. I don't believe much of anything in the news. If they said the sky is blue, I'd look out the window to make sure. I know what you're saying, but on the other hand, like, for me, it's weird because for eons, they said there's no aliens, you know, and the UFO community goes, yes, there is. And I really was, you know, I thought, well, maybe, but I really wasn't sure. And, but some of those older videos were interesting. So I did wonder about the older videos because we probably didn't have that tech back then. Of course, now, who knows? Maybe the caveman had tech the way there's tech before its time now. But, so, what was I going to say? I totally lost the thread. That's not good. Dang, I feel like I want to go back and read what I was saying. Oh, that you don't believe anything in the news. Okay, so, yeah, for eons, they'd say, nah, it's swamp gas. And they had all these, like, ridiculous explanations, like, just say you don't know what it is, then you don't have to invent a ridiculous story for everything. Like, you know, we see that with Mandela. You know, maybe you were confusing the man in the moon with a cup of milk, and the milk is round and you thought it was the moon. You know, like, come on, you know, I mean, whatever you want to say, I'm misremembering, fine, but that is not a logical explanation, you know. And so the UFO community was the same way. It's like, okay, I don't know what it was, and maybe it was a natural phenomena, but it wasn't swamp gas and it wasn't the moon, you know. So now then the government's like, okay, we admit they're real, and everybody's like, no, I don't believe you. They have to not be real now. So you have to kind of see the irony of that. You know, you didn't trust them when they said it was a lie, that it was fake, and then now you don't trust them when it's real. Well, it has to be one of the others, you know. So I'm not going to blindly trust them, certainly, but I do think there's a lot of evidence there's something. And I do kind of wonder if they're going to try to spin a yarn about how dangerous they are which I find hard to swallow, because if they have this super tech, since we were like cavemen and stuff, if they really wanted to exterminate us, I think they would have had no problem. I mean, really, they would just have to shoot off a couple nukes and then we'd all nuke each other. I mean, it would have been so easy. They wouldn't have to do much work. So I don't think that I think they're probably less dangerous than humans. I mean, like, if you meet, like, certain kinds of humans on the side street or an alien on the side street, who's more likely to, like, kill you and steal your money or something? I would say it would be the human. So from an intellectual point of view, I'm not really all that scared of it, because I'm more scared of, like, our government. So, but on the flip side, I mean, if I'm standing there and there's suddenly an alien, I'm sure I'd have a natural, visceral response to the unknown and feel scared. But from an intellectual viewpoint, I don't. Because it's either the government lied to us, and that's the same old, or it's really aliens, and I just don't see how they're seem to be particularly dangerous. Although, I don't know, the current narrative seems to be that there's good ones, bad ones. I don't know, but again, if they could just come and annihilate us, I'm sure they would have taken care of that long ago. So I'm just curious now. I mean, it's definitely, if this is placed as a big video game, there's definitely working hard on some of the writing, finally, on the narrative. Because I was getting kind of, the recycling of the Cold War narrative and all that is getting really old. Let's see, who was trying to say aliens are living in the moon? I don't even know now. I mean, everything is so whack-doodle that, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but then, I don't know that, you know, I mean, like, it's, if there are actually aliens visiting here a lot, that is way more wild than, and they have a base on the far side of the moon. Well, I mean, either they're under the water or they have a base on, you know, I mean, it's not even that weird then. I mean, it's... So, you know, it's kind of interesting, because I just was seeing a thing where this dude was looking at the recent flyby on the far side of the moon, since there is no dark side anymore, but now there's a far side. And that, actually, it wasn't a recent one, because in this reality it happened a few decades ago. But a big bunches of areas were just blurred out. And then the government tried to say it was because of stitching the photos together. But it didn't really make sense, because, like, some of the blurred areas were like one square in the middle of like a big, what do you call those, calderas, not calderas, but the big craters. Okay, so, like, you didn't, one little section, an exact square out of the middle of the crater is it's not a stitched together artifact. And then other photos, there would be like a million lines, blur, 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 blur. I'm like, what, you got a million photos that are only tiny, like this wide and this long? I mean, like, I don't buy it. And then some of them are only this long, right? So it's not stitched together up here, and it's not stitched together down there, but it's stitched together. There's just no way. There's just no way. And that wasn't a thing before for me. I mean, people had, like, scrutinized those photos, and there wasn't humongous swaths of blurred areas. But that, even, like, having that kind of high definition photos decades ago wasn't a thing for me. So all this weird crap's showing up in the timeline. It all points towards aliens. There's also a lot of really good old video of UFOs and stuff now. Like, you can really see that there's really a freaking saucer shape up there. Like, with much better video from 30 years ago that some people swear have always been in the timeline. So the truth is, somewhere in between, aliens aren't from other planets, because planets are not solid things you can live in. I don't know. At this point, I feel like any narrative could turn out to be true. I'm not really attached to any one particular one. But they have been, the government has been calling them non-human entities. They haven't been calling them extraterrestrials. So a lot of people think that it might be like interdimensional. and then it's going to be something like it'll be something like spirits, and then when the Bible, what are they according to the Bible? So as far as I can tell, though, the Bible is full of like angels, which would be like good spirits, and then there's bad spirits, but there's also a bunch in the middle, like these guys were good spirits, but then they did something bad, so they got kicked out of heaven, and then they're down here doing kind of bad stuff, and then some guy another spirit comes and says, you got to quit that, so they're not full on evil, right? Because they're not like completely like a devil thing, but they're not like totally good either. So I'm thinking, if you go by Bible lore, that there's good ones, bad ones, and a lot of in the middle ones. It's like similar to humans. A lot of people, I don't know. I mean, like, that's the current narrative, so something like that will probably show up. But then if a narrative gets peppered everywhere, how do you know that that's an organic narrative? I mean, how do you know it's just not astroturfing? Like, every time, like, the lockdowns, there was huge astroturfing, and then also for this war, there was huge astroturfing. So if they want to push a narrative, they're very good at doing it. So, and I don't think there's any way to really know. I mean, you could say you do research, but like, what do you have? An alien that you can, have a conversation with and ask him questions? You know what I mean? It's like, that's my thing. So can we even understand the nature of dimensions and stuff enough to even get a accurate understanding or knowledge of it from where we are? So I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just not jumping on any gigantic bandwagon so much. I have my favorite things, and I do think there are interdimensional consciousnesses. I don't know if they can really come here or not. I guess supposedly they can, but I've never really seen it. I think I have seen perhaps those, when they say that there are, when humans die and they're too like messed up in the head and they can't like move on to heaven. But I don't know, they're not bad enough to go to hell. Somehow they get stuck here. And I think I might have seen one of those, and it kind of matched, like, one time when I was half asleep. And it seems like people, when they're half asleep, is when they see these things a lot. So, but that's a whole nother thing. So that's another dimension, like, near us, where some of us end up if we're too messed up in the head. And so I saw one, and I don't know, but I haven't seen any interdimensional aliens moving pictures to mess with us, or yeah. I mean, how else are you going to communicate with the interdimensional creatures? It's got to be telepathic. But are they going to really come here and like walk down the street? And I don't know. We'll see. And I'm be waiting for the rest of you to see how this is going to spin out. So, I mean, I guess they'll release some stuff, maybe trickle it out. I don't know, like, why are they releasing all this now? Is it just because it's time for a more exciting narrative in this reality movie? Or, like, is something going to happen where they gotta barf it up now? Because, like, they kept this secret all this time, assuming that they kept this secret and it's a legitimate secret. If they kept this secret all this time, why would they decide to release it now? And I really don't buy that Trump just decided to be a good old guy and release it. I mean, like, the only reason I can think of them releasing it is because it's going to come out anyway. Like, they're going to visit, or they've put, something has to happen where they can't hide it anymore. Something's going to happen that they can't hide it. But that is my guess for this. And then, so they're like, well, we've got to now. I feel like that's the only thing I could think of. There's some kind of a pressure on them where they can't keep it hidden any longer. and they know it's coming out, or there's a high chance it'll come out, so they're just like, well, we better just prepare people then, since, well, you know, like, if somebody's got dirt on you and they're blackmailing you with it, and one option is to just release the dirt yourself first and try to, you know, it's like, see, you know, I've got it's all out now. You can't use it against me. Okay, let's see. Okay, so stop, dude. This guy, you know, we saw some pictures of these red sprites. Apparently, this guy took a whole bunch of them. And he's this storm chaser dude. He also took this one, which is really interesting. Let me see if I can find it. So he's just yakking away about his stories here. So he took this one. Now, it does look like this one slowed down some, because they're barely poking along. Then he took all these red sprites. So these, I think, are even more detailed than last time I covered them. I think these might be the same images I covered last time, but you can see a lot more. You can see the clouds better, and the roots and stuff. You know, like, I'm starting to see one where there's, like, sparkly stuff around these, and I'm, like, when I thought of them, like, these are kind of just like fireworks. They're like celestial fireworks. Like, humans invented fireworks. We shot them up in the sky enough, and now we got like natural version of them. So he also took, let's see, it's coming after this yakking. This one, I don't think I've ever seen any this long before. That one's got roots. That doesn't. That might have been one of the... Okay, and then he took this one. So this is 10 miles. Okay, that's interesting. So these are really big. Like 30 miles long. Yeah. Yeah, it used to be that this little timeline would line up exactly with what you'd see, but that doesn't work anymore. So now I have to hunt around. Close. There's another one. Okay, I give up on that. That might be all of them. He might show it here. I don't know why these lights turn on and off. Last time I watched it, they would turn on right when the lightning struck. Hold on. I watched this like a week ago. The thing is that video should have been the one where the sprites showed up. Not there. Then he was saying there was also aurora during the same time, but it didn't go far enough south. Okay, let's see. Was this the one? I think this is the one where the sprites show up. Like, I don't get why these show up. These were showing up every time the sprites showed up. So I'm like, okay, hold on. I know it was here. Let me see if I can find it. There. I think we're getting close. Ah, okay. This is one where he did like a different spectrum, and he looked at the same sprites so that you could see the slow motion of how they move. Okay, there's that one. So see, there's that little thing, then there's that one. Yeah, so when I was watching it, these lights down here would light up every time that showed up, and I'm like, well, is this fake then? Are they like projecting it? Like that was what was, and he never explained that I saw why these red lights, which have the same red. So that's another thing that was confusing me, because these are supposed to be real, not fake. But like, see these lights? I don't know. It was really confusing to me. Of course, now it's not doing it. All right. Apparently, sometimes there's green ghosts after the sprites. All right. I think that's it. You know, it's super irritating to me that this timeline. See, like, if I click on this, I will not see that whited out thing, probably. Of course, now I do. But it's not in the exact same spot, so. I'm going to laugh if it's fixed now. No way. Is it fixed? No. Okay. That should have been a white ball. See, it shows a white ball. Oh, if I double click, does it work if I double click? Oh, this is weird. Now it's kind of working. It hasn't worked for like 6 months. Oh my God. So what? I had to double click? No. This is weird. It has not worked for 6 months. Oh my God. Okay, never mind. Whatever. So what? I just have to complain in this timeline and stuff fixes? All right. From now on, you guys, I will complain to you whenever I don't like something, and hopefully I'll get my way. All right, so there's that guy. This is a bizarre one. I don't know if you guys remember, but I used to complain or say about the Mandela that I didn't remember whales like breaching really far. I just remembered like porpoises and dolphins and stuff doing it. And then whales would, at first they would just come up and they would just get air and blow, you know, through the blowhole and go back down. And then over the years, they started coming out more and more and more. And now I feel like they come out to a point that is starting to really just defy gravity. And so here is an example of that. The ultimate, I call BS, but I mean, I guess that's what it is in this timeline. But I know that this whale was able to come all the way out of the water, like 100% out, flip his fat tail. And that's just crap. I'm sorry, they couldn't do that. So, I mean, you could say it's AI, but I actually don't think so, because if you watch the whole rest of this video, he has he has like a lot of videos of whales like in this pod going close, not quite making it, but like one fin drags and, you know, that kind of thing. So there was a bunch that were really close, some like middle ones, and then that one. So that, I just don't think he's faking it. There was just so much work. Let's see, let's see, is this one, okay, is it gonna, there. No, see, now that one should be this. Okay, so what, I just have to click on it multiple times, apparently, if it doesn't line up. That's, okay. Historically, I just click once. If it didn't line up, I gave up. So apparently, I just have to click a lot. Well, all right. Here we go. So, I'm going to turn that sound off. We don't need to hear me yapping. So you could see he's got a lot of video of close ones. There's a couple where the tail, like that one that just like half a tail was still in there. Okay, so anyway, you get the idea. Anyway, they can apparently jump all the way out of the effing water. And I say, no, it's not right. It's entities.god. Yeah. That would be my assumption. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The more I think about this, the more I say, I think you have to go back to what it says in the Bible, where you will know them by their fruits. You know, if they're, I think any alien's going to feel creepy because they're aliens. You know, I mean, there's going to be a part of your brain that's going to be like, ah! And so I don't know if I could really trust myself to go by that. It's sort of like if I saw a really like creepy bug. I mean, maybe it's the nicest bug in the world that never bites and only does good things on Earth, but it's creepy looking, okay? You know, you're still going to be like, ah, blah, blah. It's instinct. That's instinct. So I think we're just going to have to watch and say, you know, are they really trying to help people? Are they being like what you would consider a good, you know, good energy, like in their behavior? And I think it'll take a long time before you really know if they really are or not. And beyond that, though, I mean, they're going to be aliens, so who knows if they even have the same concepts of good and evil as we do, you know, like maybe in their world it's saying, hey, you know what, your hair is ugly as sin, you should fix it, is a kindness, you know, because they'll be helping you by telling you the truth, and they don't actually mean to make you feel bad. Because if somebody says that with the desire to make you feel bad because they got joy out of it, I would say that that's a, you know, a mean, evil, bad type of thing. I mean, it doesn't mean they're the devil, but it's definitely a negative thing that I would say is a minus point on my opinion of them. But if an alien said it, and in their culture it was just not mean at all, they didn't wish to hurt you, they wouldn't get good feelings out of hurting you, and they were just trying to help you by telling you your flaws, then that would not, I would say that's not an evil thing. It's not a bad thing. I might not like it, but it's not, you know, inherently a bad thing. So it's kind of tricky because you've got to consider all the cultural stuff too. So I think it comes down to intent. You know, do you have intent to help creatures and build and, you know, be peaceful? And do you do things that seem to contribute to that type of intent or not? Yeah, see, cats. Are cats evil? Well, I don't know. You know, it's kind of hard to say for cats because they can be really little stinkers, you know, but on the flip side, they never tried to kill me, as far as I know. I don't know. I mean, how can you judge a cat? I mean, there's a reason that they get the jokes that they are trying to take over the world because, they do have their, I don't know, their side to them. Yeah, you know, we accept that they're an animal and not a human, so we don't judge them by human standards. I mean, if a child acted like a cat, give me that, slapping the crap on the ground, punching your head while you're sleeping, whining all the time, you wouldn't put up with it, but you will for a cat. And I'm like, I don't know how they pulled that off, but... Yeah, I mean, I think there's entities. I mean, I think there's things. I've seen weird things. I don't, you know, a lot of them I don't know if they were sentient or not, but they're definitely not explainable by the mundane things. I mean, I've certainly never seen like an alien come down and go, hi, though, so I don't know. You never know because they can take human form. Well, I mean... Okay, but that's unfalsifiable. Like, that guy looks just like a human and you'll never know, but he's actually an alien. Or you're just wrong. I mean, there's no way to falsify that. I mean, unless some government operative came and said so, and even then you're wondering if they're lying. So I don't put too much stock in unfalsifiable theories. I don't say that they can't be, but I don't assume they are either. How can anybody know that, you know? Like, how do you know? How did the person who said that know? How did this even get started? Is it an astroturf? I don't know. Or is it just because it's coming in the reality and that got it here? It's a distraction from other crap the politicians are up to. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, though, like, I feel like the Epstein files, they didn't release it, and people are going to whine about it for years, and so what? So they whine about it. I mean, he already lost a whole bunch of his MAGA base with all the other crap he's done, like invading a bunch of countries and stuff. A lot of them are really PO'd about that because he ran on a platform of not doing that. So, I mean, the Epstein files are one of his problems, but they're certainly not there's a whole bunch more issues. So, is he going to release a bunch of alien info just because of the Epstein files? I find it hard to believe, because I think if they had just ignored it, they've been doing it for months, and you know what happened? Nothing happened for the Epstein files. Yeah, red sprites are a lot more elaborate. Yep. You get the green halos, and there's all these other things. Yeah, I mean, if it's just a Truman Show, then any narrative could get written in. So maybe we're still writing the narrative. What did you guys all vote for? Yeah, we don't get to see behind. But if you got to see behind the curtain, like if you got told the end of the book before you got done reading, I mean, that wouldn't be fun ultimately. We don't unless plants are smoked. I'll tell you something. Like, I don't, like... So, for LSD or magic mushrooms, like, I definitely feel like you talk to spirits or aliens or whatever. But they're just different. I don't know. But the ones I ran into, they didn't seem like evil or anything. I mean, they don't... My feeling would be this, that I kind of controlled the show, which would also play into the concept that maybe it was all my imagination. But who boy, what an imagination. Who knew I was so genius if that's all my imagination? I'm very impressed with myself. But if it's not all my imagination, I got the impression that it was sort of like a thing where they were sort of neutral, and we kind of decided what was allowed to come through, that kind of thing. Like it almost like our personality interacted with their personality, and then the thing you saw was like a combo of your rules and their nature. That was more like how I felt like it was. Like, you're never really seeing them, you're seeing like an amalgam of them plus you. So I kind of wonder, like, this is my rules, this is what I want, and so that's what I get, The thing is, we all have crap in our head and stuff, so sometimes, that shows up on the screen as well. The dirt shows up along with the good stuff. Are you talking about the money-stealing Indonesian entity? Definitely not. I have no idea what the money-stealing Indonesian entity is. Okay, now is that a singular event or is it a tradition? Money-stealing Indonesian entity. To my knowledge, nothing has stolen any of my money other than the United States government tax system. Money stealing Indonesian and refers to primarily to the tuyul, childlike spirit in Javanese, summoned by shamans to steal money, jewelry, or valuables for its master. See, now I feel like that's evil, though, at least on the point of the master. I mean, maybe the childlike thief just, like, whatever, I don't know, but... Greenish... Small, bald, pale, greenish-skinned infant with large eyes. I mean, isn't that a gray? That sounds like a gray. Originating from the soul of a stillborn. Okay. Well, maybe it's just a gray, but it didn't arrive. Maybe they got the origin wrong. Requires daily offerings like milk, toys, or blood to remain obedient. Neglect may cause it to turn against its owner. Hey, even cats aren't that bad. Like in the past, I just go, nah, that's all baloney. But, I don't know now. Maybe you can, especially it seems like the veil is thinning. Maybe you can have something like that. Nothing about that makes me want to do it, though. I'm so annoyed I don't have $50 million. I have to say it though. I think that you're only allowed to get what you're ready to get. And it's like you got to get your brain in order to sort out problems in your life. If you don't change the way your mind works and you don't change your behavior and personality, then the outcome will continue to be the same. I mean, if you keep doing the same thing forever, then the outcome will likely still be the same forever also. You have to alter, you have to work on yourself. It's like, if a 5-year-old says, I want a tank, and you say, no, honey, you can't have a real tank because you're going to blow up the neighbor's house and then it'll be a mess. And I kind of think that it's even like that as far as how we manifest and stuff. If something is going to be too destructive and make things worse down the line because we won't learn our lessons and stuff, then I think we can't have it until we get our crap together. That's just my theory anyway. And that may be why, like, when they say that the evil people do, they make pacts with evil entities or whatever to get what they want. But it may actually be a cruelty to give you what you think you want before you're ready to have it. It'd be like giving that tank to that 5-year-old. Like, hey, kid, you want a tank? I'll give you a tank. Here's a tank. Then the kid blows up the neighbors and kills 3 people. And then the devil's like, well, you said you wanted a tank. I gave you a tank. Ha, ha, ha. It's ultimately works in the evil creature's favor if it gives you something you're not ready to handle. I found out about the money stealing entity this morning after having a dream about stealing stolen money. Huh. So you dreamt about a bunch of trailer full of money. I mean, I think it's pretty common to dream about money, though, for a lot of people. I mean, even I tend to dream about coins, and I think it was because when I was in college, I was really poor, and if I found like 25 cents on the ground, that was really useful because, like you only needed 50 cents to buy macaroni and cheese. So I'm like, macaroni and cheese time. I mean, there were times when I was that poor that I would just look for coins because I needed money. So somehow the coins just, it feels like money, like, I don't know, like I have money in the bank, it's way more than a coin, right? But somehow the coin just psychologically just seems more valuable to like a deeper part of me. So that, I think that's why I dream. Like I dream I found a bunch of coins on the street or something, and I'm scooping them up and it's quarters, and I mean, like, it's going to be $8 a quarters, it's not really that much money in the current reality that I live in, but it still seems like a lot. It seems a lot in the dream. Somehow $8 a quarter seems like more than $8 in the bank. Okay, so this one is Easy Cheesy 181 found this one, and okay, we didn't do the fish thing yet. Okay, so Easy Cheesy 181 found Archaeoptera phalanx blue stick insect. This thing. I think I had this on before, but I don't remember it being this bright. So sometimes it's even described as metallic, like metallic blue. And it has this little wing. And it looks like it has a little secondary wing now. I don't remember it having like a secondary wing. So like there's this one, then there's that. So I'm trying to figure out. I just realized that. So yeah, so there's two little ones, and then so they can't fly. So these are, why even have these stupid bright wings? It's like ridiculous. But it does look like it has secondary little flappers. Trying to figure out what's happening with those. Yeah, see those bud things. See if I can open this one larger. That's not very helpful at all, is it? It's not. I don't think it had this many spikes. Apparently, they just eat like plant materials, so they're not even, I mean, they look like they're pretty dangerous, right? So one of the things that Easy Cheesy was saying is, you know, when these things came out, the whole point of them being stick-shaped is that they would have stick coloration and they could just sit in the tree and look like a stick. The whole point was to be camouflaged. But now we got this mess, which is anything but camouflaged. So that all went out the window, I guess. Yeah, so these are described as metallic in a lot of places. So I don't know if they even look that metallic on these images. Maybe that hasn't phased in completely. So yeah, upgrade. Looks like we're gonna get, so we got upgrades to the wings because these little petals here are separate from the main wing. And interestingly, you can't really tell that in many photos, but there's a few of them it looks clearly that that's the case. So those have snuck in. Second piece of wing. Okay, yeah, it's that and that. Okay, so now the thumbnail. This is a real photo, supposedly. It looks fake, and that's why I made it the thumbnail, because it looks faker than F. In fact, somebody's like, this AI is out of hand, it's fake. I mean, it looks fake. I don't even blame this guy for just like, that's obviously effing fake. But it's not. It is not, it's not fake. So you guys remember the sea frogs. Now there is a separate species called sea toads and coffin fishes. They are in the same order of fishes as the frog fishes. But the frog fishes are Lophiforms. And these are Chownicidae or whatever. I don't know. So sea toads are close relatives of frog fishes and share this feature of walking on their pelvic and pectoral fins. The closest relatives of sea toads are actually deep sea anglerfishes, which swim up in the water column and have reduced absent pelvic fins. Okay, so these are relatives of anglerfishes, but they're not anglerfishes, which makes sense because there's no fishing pole angler thingy madougal on here. But yeah, faker than F. I agree, it's totally fake looking, but if you look on official websites, these are legit. Mysterious identity, bright red sea toad. So that's the same guy. Bright red sea toad was seen at the depth of 3,000 meters during a remotely operated vehicle dive from the NOAA ship Okeanos Explorer in Oahu, Hawaiian Islands. So they think it's a new species. How could you miss that, I ask you? Let's see. All right, they're talking about the lure. Okay, but that's Lophiforms. These are not Lophiforms, though. Okay. Sea toads are characterized by having a small lure on a short stalk. Where is the lure? I don't even see it. Maybe it's... placed in a depression on the head. Oh! So they have a lure, and then they have a lure hidey hole. Oh, so then the lure would be inside there. Oh, so they can just pop it out, like, they can just reel it out. They don't have to swim around with it dangling. Oh my god, so that's definitely an upgrade, these sea toads. Alright, so you're right, they were like an anglerfish, sort of. They do have an angler thing. That's hilarious. Okay, that's a total upgrade for me. I have not seen any that have the angle hidden in there. Now, how come I can't see any of these with the angle out? Have we not written that part of the storyline yet? Okay, Chaunacops. Chaunacops. Is that what I wrote? Yeah, Chaunacops. I want to see Chaunacops angler now. Let me go to Google. Chaunacops angler. There. It seems like that one's sticking out a little. Let's see the angler. All right. There's a little tiny... Okay, maybe that's all there is. There's a little... That's a very anemic angler. Clearly, they've been around so long, somebody has felted one or knitted it. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's just this tiny pom-pom. There it is. Okay, okay, I get it. Maybe I thought that was a depression, but it was actually the pom-pom mashed against the back of his head. They're still not showing it sticking out, though. 10,000 images, but no sticky outy pom-poms. Okay, and there's the classic, well, the current state of the classic anglerfish, or one of them. I don't even know if these are real or not anymore. So, fish have so many expressions now. Okay, there's the puffer. All right, well, we'll have to keep an eye on those and see how they develop. But yeah, there's your... I wonder if the AI is allowing more things to come into the reality. And I also wonder if all this talk about aliens and then having the pastors spread the word and talking about it even more, is that going to help bring it into reality? Is that going to usher it in, everybody thinking about it? Preliminal is in. Welcome. Vivian Messier is in. The wings resemble a flower. Oh, that's a good point. Maybe they're going to say it's imitating a really bright plant. I actually didn't see anything about camouflage yet, so there's probably still writing that narrative. Yeah, it's a stick insect. Poison. I didn't see anything about a poison version. They're kept as pets. There was no danger. People have them crawling all over their arms, so I don't think so. Yeah, they're lazy idiots, but I still don't blame them for thinking that's fake, because I was kind of the same. I'm like, is that real? I mean, they're just too lazy to check, but I'm not. Extinct fish sold in Laos market. Let me see. Did I see it? I think I saw it on the comments somewhere. There's so many of that story now. I feel like I've heard that story like 5 different times, and it was like different fish every time. Wait, what is that? Okay. Extinct fish. So, come on. Why is the space button not working? Market. Bought at market. That's not the Laos market one. Mekong River. Aha, shows up at fish market. Okay, is this the Laos fish market? The Mekong giant salmon carp. Now they're just mashing a bunch of random words together. It's a salmon carp. In 2020, one of the 4 foot long, 60-pound megafish were hauled in by a fisherman and sold at the fish market. Two others were found. Cambodia. Okay, so I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's that exciting looking for a fish, but we'll see what it turns into down the line. Why are there so many creatures that look like cartoon characters? I think that our cartoon characters are basically our vote for the new animals, you know? Like all those Pokemon, they were a lot of them were based on nothing, but now the animal showed up that they are now based on, which is pretty strange. So, did hunting for a fictitious animal by a very large horde of people in perhaps an Earth reality where the veil is thinning was enough to maybe make these animals? That's my best guess. That was your vote for the new animals. Yeah, so I guess it just has its fins like morphed into legs. So first it was the frogfish, and at first they'd still look like fins, and then over the years they look more and more like feet, and now we have a second species, which is these. The anglerfish were new for me also, but they are older than the frogfish. So now we have a half angler, half frogfish, and it's called a toadfish. This is the latest version. Apple Frogfish 5.0. Probably an evolutionary thing. Yeah, it evolved in the last year into that. Out of nothing. An undead rat. Okay, oh, wait a minute. Went shopping. Market in Laos. Selling these things. What the heck? They live up in the mountains over there. They call them tradition how to prepare them. It's a squirrel thing. This animal. Wait a minute. I mean, it just looks like another rodent to me. Maybe it's not a known one, but this doesn't exactly look like an alien species or anything. Could be a new family. Okay, well, I don't know. It still just looks like a big rat squirrel, though. That is interesting, but see, that's what I mean, though. Like, so they just found one of these for sale, and then they also found a fish for sale. And I mean, why even hunt for stuff? Just go to the market in these places and see what's for sale there. It's easier than stomping around in the jungle. I really think things aren't real in that context anymore because reality is so insane. Yeah, I know. I kind of feel like a little bit of a sucker in a way. You can definitely sucker me because in the past I'd be like, no way, that's true. But now I'm like, well, I don't know. Better check it out. It wasn't a fish. It was a rat. Yeah, see? A dirty rat. This squirrel rat lived on one particular mountain, apparently. And yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to get where every mountain has 67 animals that only live on that mountain. And every river will have another 67 animals that only live in that river. And then there'll be like one big rock, and the entire species lives under that rock. I think we're about to that level now. Yeah, the Katy Berry thing. I mean, that was gross. I feel sorry for that dude. He tried to be the good guy. What happened? I mean, I'm not shocked that people are super evil, cutthroat, and do super mean things in Hollywood. I mean, I used to live in LA, and you hear stories, and it's just, you can see that everybody that's in it is either evil or just massively damaged. Like all the kids that grow up, by the time they hit like 25, they're about done with life because they've been so messed up. Most of them, I mean, some managed to survive, but you could see that it was a huge struggle. So I in the past, I just assumed that's what happens when you get fame at an early age. It's just, this is another example of what I mean when you think you want something, but you're actually really not ready to get it. So people think they want fame, but then when they get it, they're not happy. They're generally not happy. There's a very few people performers that really, really love the stage and really enjoy it enough that I think that it brings them more pleasure than average. But most of these people, they like the money, obviously, but the whole rest of it, generally, they don't. Yeah, so I used to think it was just the fame. Now you have to wonder what else. What other evil things happened to those children? I do feel like the money alone the money and all the catering, like if you were a kid and everybody was just like, oh, you're amazing, whatever you say, like you don't really like learn, everybody's trying to kiss your butt all the time. The natural state of a child is for parents to go, dude, you're wrong, get over yourself, quit it. I mean, you're not supposed, it's not natural for parents to be your like slave workers, so I think that alone would mess people up. Everybody always fawning over you, trying to curry your favor. It rarely leads to a healthy personality, a healthy, stable personality. So that alone. But now, who knows what else? I mean, I would have hoped that's the only thing, but it's just an example if you're not ready to get something. So they say that like half the people who win the lottery become massively depressed because they weren't ready to handle it. And so it wasn't a blessing that they won the lottery because some of them, they become depressed. They blow through the money really fast. And in 8 or 10 years, they're just as poor as ever. But it's even worse now because they know that they had a chance and blew it and effed it all up. So now it's even worse than never having a chance. If you never got your chance, it's worse than having it and blowing it. That's for sure. At least psychologically, usually it is. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the Russell Brand thing. I mean, he was one of the first to admit that he went down a bad path and he did things he's not proud of. I mean, he's admitted that for many, many years. On the flip side, then he started speaking against the government and the lockdowns and authoritarianism, and he started to get really popular. And as far as I know, he's been living a clean life, a reasonably clean life for quite a while now. And they didn't mind him at all. And then once he started arguing against the lockdowns and stuff, it looks like they spent years researching every little tiny thing he ever did and managed to scrape up a couple things that may or may not be really bad. And for instance, they had this text message that they heavily implied meant that he hard-R'd some woman, but then we figured out that they had basically cobbled together multiple different bits of text message, and basically they lied. The news lied, and it was a smear campaign. And it looks like what they were really talking about is that he did not wear a condom, and she was mad about it. And that's a whole different thing than what they implied. I mean, I'm not saying it's great. Certainly it's bad behavior. Certainly. But it is not anywhere near the level that they tried to imply that he did. So I'm like, is that really the best you have, that he didn't wear a condom once and then he apologized later about it? Or is there more? So the thing is that we know that they go around and say, hey, you can get $100,000 if you just say this, and they'll back them. So they'll provide the lawyer and everything because it's a hit piece, and they want to silence the guy that's not towing the line and getting too popular. So that's why I don't really trust the current court case, because then it comes out and you find out that 27 years ago some crackhead claimed something happened, and who knows if it really did. And it really makes me second guess a lot of things, because it's pretty easy for them to find. I'm telling you, in Hollywood, if you went around with a bunch of money and you told a lot of people that like anybody that ever knew him, that they could get a whole giant pile of money by just like bending the truth a little bit, there are going to be takers. And then it happened so long ago and there's no evidence, so it's just he said, she said. So it's very tricky for me to really know what happened. Then again, he was taking a lot of drugs and living wild. Maybe he did something awful. I don't know. I could see it either way. I got beat by Nancy Kerrigan. I don't know. Like, I could go out and say, Pete Hegseth once did blah 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 to me. If he was in the same town as me, how are you gonna know? I could say anything. The men in black show up after I've seen a UFO and pay me off to keep quiet. I don't think it's gonna work anymore, because now looks like they want it out. So maybe they'll pay you to blab more. Heck, maybe they'll pay you to spread a false narrative that you did see a UFO. The Men in Black entities. I've heard of the Men in Black, but that was always like government operative types, but they were creepy and weird. I don't know if I'd call them entities, but they kind of made it a gray area. Like, is that just some weird dude working for the government, or is it something else? I'm hoping to see some aliens just to get paid. Okay. Yeah. If you get like a bunch of alien info, you could probably just get paid to like talk about it. They would have you on the talk shows and stuff. And these days you don't even have to get off your butt. You can just do it on a Zoom call. Can't be on talk shows. Why not? You can. Maybe you won't be good at it, but you can. I bet you if they paid enough money, you'd be like, I'll tell you one thing, though. After having done this, it would be a lot easier for me, because the first time is definitely the hardest time. And then after a while, you're like, maybe I look stupid. Who cares? I'm over it. Not 100% over it, but it's definitely a lot easier. Yeah, see, you join open panels. Usually the talk shows, if as long as you pick one that's friendly to you, which is like crucial, kind of look into what their narratives usually is and try to vet them to make sure they're friendly to. Like they're not debunk. Say you see a UFO, you don't want to go on somebody who's known as a debunker because then they're not going to be. They're going to be trying to do gotchas and stuff. But assuming that they're friendly to you, they will usually kind of go over things with you a little bit, work out some like rules about what you are willing to talk about and what you're not. They may even send you all the questions in advance. If you really ask, if you make it a requirement and they want you on enough, they may comply. And they're trying to make it easier for you and keep you comfortable. And if you get stuck, they'll try to help you because they don't want their show to look stupid either, you know. I mean, if you basically knew where all the parameters were, the basic stuff they were going to ask you, and that they wouldn't ask you anything that you didn't want them to ask, then you know, it would be easier. So a lot of talk shows these days, you know, they just interview you basically. They're asking you what happened. Maybe they'll ask you a few probing questions or maybe not. Okay, this one, you know, we had so many of these beautiful chameleons on, but I don't know. I just had to have one more because this one is like blue and purple, and it is so cool. Blue, purple, and red. Is this real? See, the new ones that come in, it's like, that candy, is that an AI? No, it's real. This is a weird color morph called blue ambanja. Ambanja chameleon, and they are super cool. There's always a new magic color morph. Yeah, see, it looks like sometimes they've got purple on them, which is pretty amazing. Each one's a little bit. Okay, so they're kind of panther chameleon. All right, so that one was by Pristine Sun 92. One more. This one, I could have made this the thumbnail, but I think I was feeling kind. Look at that. You go fishing and you haul in that thing. That should be on the X-Files. It doesn't belong in real life. Okay, so this thing, they rolled it in. Apparently, it had chomped onto the bait with that creepy They called it a sucker mouth, but I see a bunch of teeth. So if it's chomped in with teeth, that's more than just sucker mouth. Didn't know what it was. It went out on the internet and was identified as a worm goby, but what they weren't able to identify the exact species from the pictures alone. Probably from the genus Tinioides. So if you look up worm goby, I didn't see any that really look like that. Except for that one. The only one I saw that looked like that is that one. It's definitely nightmare fuel. Like, and what is even this? It's got a big, I mean, like, that looks like the head. I think that they're eyeless, though. So maybe that's the bottom. Then there's, like, one fin there and two there. But I wanted to say this is the top, but maybe it's not the top. See, they keep taking a picture of it like that's the top. So why does it have a big fat fin underneath? And then what's this? Ugh, it's gross. This thing is just disgusting. And the fact that it suckers onto you with giant sucky teeth. There's a close-up of it, in case you didn't get a good look. Gross. So, yeah, they're calling it a worm goby. See, look here. I typed in worm goby, and all I see is other stuff, and then, I don't know, maybe that's one? I don't know. Dried up like a sardine. Red dragon goby. That is super creepy, but a little better looking because of colors. But like, where's that disgusting thing? Oh, it's Australia. Why am I not surprised? Bears are striking resemblance to chestburster monster from the movie Alien, spotted in Australia. 6 inches long. Oh, it's pretty big. It's like this long. And that's not a secret evil hand sign, I might add, in case anybody's wondering. It doesn't take much. If I cover my eye, then it was she's covering her eye, or it's a hand signal of something. Oh, she got like a bruise on your eye. That's a symbol of something. They say. It's purpley brown, has a really weird head, but the body was like an eel. It didn't even move or wriggle. It was stunned. It has really sharp teeth. It could bite. I did read that it was chomped onto the lure and they had trouble getting it off. Yeah, there, via suction cup. Well, you know, if that lure is metal, then it wouldn't have been able to teeth in. I don't know what those lures are made of. She had to use pliers to pry it off in order to release it back into the water. Pliers! Ugh. It was the only way to get it off. You couldn't shake it. You couldn't anything. Never in my life have I seen it before. Native to the area. Okay, Australia, have fun. They have no eyes and live their life under the mud and are pretty rarely seen by people. They are very interesting animals. They pose little danger to humans unless they suck onto your finger with their fang teeth. They have very glass-like teeth, so a few people have said when they've caught them, they get a bite from them, but it's not dangerous. Oh, it's not. Well, you can get bit. Although they do grow up to 20 inches, so once they are that big, they could give you a bit of a bite. Oh, a bit. And then you can't get them off unless you have effing pliers. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. See, look. UFO update. Congresswoman promises to show things of non-human orb. See, it's everywhere. I just can't see them hamming it up this much. Unless they were going to do it. And frankly, when Obama goes on and those guys go on, a lot of times the questions are pre-decided in advance, just like I was talking about. So when they asked about UFOs and then Obama let slip some stuff, but then he walked it back a little, that was likely all pre-planned. I don't think they're going to ask about UFOs unless they had permission. So they acted like it was a slip. I don't think it was. I think it was planned. And then Trump said, oh, well, Obama screwed up, so now I'll be forced to release it. Oh, come on. You're not going to release it just because Obama slipped his tongue. You know, it's kind of a weak play that they were doing. Luna, Florida Republican, who chairs the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets, has been among the most vocal lawmakers demanding transparency, blah, blah. The Department of War's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, that's that new department called Arrow that's working on this. What did Luna say about UFOs? I have seen evidence in a skiff. I swear this word skiff has only been around like a year. I've never heard of skiff before, and now it's everywhere. That leads me to believe there are things we cannot explain. I have observed things that are of non-human origin creation. That's my opinion. You know what? It sounds like a rehash of old info, frankly. Like, I mean, Luna was blabbing about that like weeks ago. Okay, so the super chest burster goby worm. Manja. Okay. So Worm Goby was from Pristine Sun 92, which I believe I know who that is. And she can decide if she's going to say who she is. Alright, I ran into a few things on my own. Have you guys ever heard of the Ghost Rocket Wave? Scandinavian Ghost Rocket Wave. Anybody heard of that? So it has to do with those Hesdelin lights, which showed up for me a couple years ago. I have had Hesdelin lights on, but I don't remember the Scandinavian. All of these things are just showing up in the timeline. Ghost Rocket Wave. Let's see if Google knows. 2,000 reported sightings of unidentified missile-shaped objects over Sweden and neighboring countries between May and December 1946. Witnesses described fast-moving, glowing, or winged objects reported to plunge into lakes though military searches such as Lake, I can't say that word, Kumjer. When there's two dots, it means different things in different languages, but it means that you can't just say that letter normally. Rarely found debris. Supposedly, that guy saw a giant UFO thing plunge into this lake. Then later they did a search and supposedly found a big thing under the sand that was like, was it like 20 feet long? It might have even been like 60 feet long. And it was too big to remove, so they just like left it there. You'd think that they'd come back later and get it, but maybe somebody did by now. I don't know. Sightings of flaming cigar-shaped or rock-shaped objects flying at high speeds. Several reports claim object crashed into Swedish lakes. I think there's only one last I checked, but who knows. This AI, well, they're not always 100% accurate in their summaries. So now this Hesdelin, the Hesdelin lights, has long had a Hesdelin. How do you spell that? I think it's like this. It has long had like a monitoring station that sits there and tries to catch all these. And supposedly it catches an average of 10 a year these days. So it's not quite as common enough that you would really want to spend a lot of money going up there. And you might have to stay for months before you saw one. Previously seen 15 to 20 times per week, they now appear 10 to 20 times per year. Of course, it could be that if there was, one argument was there was a bajillion tourists there, that you're going to see more of them. So it was kind of self-replicating. You know, people heard about it, they go up there, there's more sightings, they hear about more sightings, more people go up there, and around we go. Okay, yeah, Project Hesdelin. There was this whole freaking weird explanation where there's this weird, this is another example of where this reality is just, I'm not smart enough to really understand this reality, because it's like, well, there's crystals under there, and then, so I think there's a lot of granite, so that's got crystal in it, and then it's in a certain shape, and then there's this weird, mineral called, I think it was called scanlin or something like that. And there's gonna if the scanlin dust floats up into the air, and then there's a charge on the granite, and I'm like, is this actual science, or are you just making it up? Because it's if it's a fake bull story, it was a good one. It wasn't the usual old, it's swamp gas. They put effort into their baloney yet. I'm just not smart enough to know if it makes sense. Combustion of airborne dust from the mining area that had the scanlin. Oxygen, titanium, and other things. The large deposit of scandium. There it is, scandium. Here, see, can you understand this? One hypothesis is that the lights are formed by a cluster of macroscopic Coulomb crystals in a plasma produced by the ionization of air and dust by alpha particles during radon decay in the dusty atmosphere. Several physical properties, including oscillation, geometric structure, and light spectrum observed in the Hazelden lights might be explained through a dust plasma model. Radon decay produces alpha particles responsible by helium emissions and radioactive elements such as polonium. Physicist Massimo Teodorani showed an occurrence where a high level of radioactivity in rocks was detected near the area where a large light ball was reported. Computer simulations show that dust immersed in ionized gas can organize into double helixes like DNA, like some occurrences of the Hazelden lights. So what? So Hazelden lights organized into double helixes? Because that's just freaking ridiculous. Let's see. Did it really? Hazelden lights, double helixes. That is not... I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just being trolled by reality now. Like... They made it so complicated. Who can understand this? Hazelden lights formed double helix. May form double helix structures due to organization of dusty plasma in the valley's atmosphere. I didn't see any images of double helixes. Actually, that's just bizarre in itself. So, ionized gas and dust just organize into double helixes. So, I guess it's like a super stable setup. And how does that explain DNA? And I don't know. It's all a scam. Another hypothesis explains Hazelden lights are a product of piezoelectricity generated under specific rock strains, because many of crystals, rocks, in Hazelden Valley include quartz grains, which produce an intense charge density. But then they said the plasma dust theory does not explain geometric structures in its center. So they're saying it's not, so maybe it's nonlinear interaction of ion acoustic and dusty acoustic waves with low frequency electromagnetic waves and dusty plasmas. All right, I'm done with that. Anyway, you get it. Like, who can understand this? Paulding. What the heck what are all these? It's a light that appears outside Paulding, Michigan. The light appeared since 1960s. Okay. There's so many of these now. So you have Paulding light, Naga. I've done that one. Min Min light, Marfa. Mako. I don't think I've seen Mako light. Ghost light occasionally seen between 19th century and 1977 along Mako Station in Brunswick, North Carolina. I wouldn't be surprised if that showed up as more. Longdendale lights. Upper end of Longdendale Valley in North England. Reports of lights date back centuries, have been known as Devil's Bonfires. Okay, Hazelden AMS. Okay, that's the automatic measurement station that monitors the anomalies. Works with the government. Yay. Ghost lights appear in the Bonny grasslands, Banny, in the Rann of Kutch near the India-Pakistan border in Kutch district, Gujarat. They are referred to as Chirbati. Okay, so there's things are everything, everywhere. Brown Mountain Lights appear near Brown Mountain in Northern Carolina. Earliest published reference was 1910. Alea Ghost Light. Will-o'-the-wisp. Okay, well, I don't know. Every time I look, there's new ones of these. And I told you that story of I saw those weird orangey red ghosty lights when I was visiting Quartzsite a couple years ago. Alas, it was not there this year, but you know, how can I be there and I see it and like other people don't care? Like nobody else was going, what the hell is this? And the girl that I knew from the rock club, she's like, oh yeah, I think I saw those. I'm like, you don't care? She's just like, Our cells are hexagonal. Our cells? You know, like, you mean our cells in our body are hexagonal? I've not heard of that. Human cells are hexagonal? Really? Hexagonal. In this timeline, everybody calls it hexagonal. I learned it was hexagonal. Not universally hexagonal, but specific types of cells exhibit this shape due to physical packing and structural efficiency. Protein hexagons are used in the cell wall. Okay, but that doesn't mean the cell is hexagonal. Cells in the corneal endothelium and certain epithelial cells often appear hexagonal in cross-section because they are tightly packed. Okay, so it doesn't look like they have actual hexagon shells yet. There's hexagonal proteins in the cell. Let's look at some of these Hesdalen lights. So there was that one, a stringy one, blobby ones. Oh, that one had a red blob. This is a weird one. Another weird one. So they're not just a light. They're like a amoeba-shaped light. I think that's the explanation. Oh, dare I click on this? I'm probably gonna regret it. It's too tiny. Also, oh, look, it's even smaller. That's not helpful. Okay. Okay, so there's the river, which is the electrolyte. Cold air, warm, cold air. Okay, so 2 layers of cold air with a layer of warm air causes dielectric. I don't know. I can't understand all that stuff. Does anybody understand all that stuff? I had 2 big orangish reddish orbs just appear in front of my Dodge Charger near Salome, Arizona. Was headed back to my house there from a house in California. Oh, okay. Salome, that's just, that's not far. That's interesting. I think if I saw them from a distance, I might think that they're flares, but since I was right under them, I was able to go right under one and look at it. It wasn't a flare. And they would go up and real slow. They would go up slow, like kind of floaty, and then they just hang there. But I use grok. I don't think anybody can explain that. Well, I guess it could try to explain it like I'm 5, but. Type in a salvia trip and ask it to reveal the truth and you'll get nuggets. I mean, it doesn't know the truth, though. It's just going to give you the most common answer. That's how these things work. Don't ask for the mainstream system. I mean, the thing is, the way AIs work is always the most common answers that it's scraped from the internet. I even asked it to give me the least likely explanation, and it had a huge trouble because it would give me less likely explanations, but they still were pretty likely. It's not good at giving you unlikely. In this reality, it's overconsumption of carbs that cause heart attacks, not fats. Oh, that's one narrative, but it keeps changing. Another one is that it is certain kinds of fats that are contributing, along with high sugar, like a bunch of different things. Higher sugar, certain kinds of, like excessive of the O6 PUFAs that are in like soybean oil, which is in all the foods all the time. Like we never used to eat a lot of high O6, like humongous amounts of O6 PUFA. So that's why there's the anti-PUFA people. It's like cut back on the soybean oil and garbage foods and eat ancestral foods. And then you have that in a environment with high sugars. I also see a really strong narrative developing that there's actually pests like parasites, bacterial or fungal, involved in a lot of it. So I'm thinking we might get with a narrative where like you become weakened. Like say, okay, if you eat high O6 PUFA, apparently what happens is the body just incorporates that right into the cell walls because human body does not have a way to resaturate fat. Now, cell walls ideally have a fairly high degree of saturation naturally. And we do have a system to downgrade saturation. So if we have a very high saturated fat, the body will downgrade the saturation to just exactly where it likes cell walls. But we don't have any system for upgrading saturation. So a low saturated fats just go straight into the cell walls like that. In the past, there were just not large amounts of unsaturated fats in the diet, so the body just didn't need to fix that. But now, like 90% of your fat calories can come from O6s. So the theory is that consumption of large amounts of O6 that were just funneled right into your cell walls, O6 makes the cell walls less stable. They're like flimsier. So like the development of cellulite, which is the fat that's all dimply and stuff, like why does an 18-year-old get cellulite now? If you look at old photos, you wouldn't see that. But it like a high amount of O6 fats would explain it. It's just basically that all the cell walls are just weaker, and that includes the skin membrane and stuff. And so it could explain a lot of like cellular integrity issues, leakage of fluids, edema, and all kinds of stuff could be very easily explained by lack of integrity in the cell walls, which can be explained by O6s. So if you have that kind of situation, it can cause problems on its own, but it also could increase the risk of parasites developing and growing in your system because your immune system would be down. Then you can add in a bunch of chemicals and a lack of nutrition and a lack of sunlight, which is lack of vitamin D, and lack of red light, which we also apparently need, which kills parasites, I might add. So like there's a whole complicated story that seems to be brewing. I think, I don't think I actually went to Salome, but I know some people would get hotels up in Salome, and I went halfway there once for a rock hounding expedition. Yeah, it's not that far. Was it like 40, I think it was like 40 minutes or something from Quartzsite? So that's really interesting then. So maybe there is a thing going on. You know, I've been there like many times. I go once or twice a year on a lot of years, although there were some years when I didn't go. And I have never seen anything really anomalous up there until that year. But, you know, the veil's a lot thinner now. I don't know. You know what? I don't know why I didn't just get my camera out. I think I had it. Maybe I didn't have enough battery power then. I don't think I had my power bank yet. So maybe that was why. I don't, you know, sometimes you're like, how could I be so stupid? Should have just, it was like, why? When I look back on it, I'm like, how could I have not thought of that? You know, even in my dreams, I see weird stuff. And I'm like, I got to get cell phone video of this in my dreams. And it wasn't scary or anything. And I had a long time to do it. It's like a mental break that I didn't. You know what's weird is I only just thought of that like today, earlier today, years later, having thought of this, only today did I go, why didn't I get video? I'm trying to even remember, did I have a functioning phone then that could do video? It should have. Museum quality specimens. What kind of specimens do you get? I'm like, rock hounding. What kind of stuff? So I've done like rock hounding around Quartzsite a lot. There's a lot of jaspers. What else did we get? There was some kind of that. Well, I would say jaspers were the number. Oh, and those weird little hematite after pyrites or whatever. They're the little squares, the little cubes. We would go up and hound those. So somebody I knew had an alternate location that wasn't all picked over, and I got a lot of really nice cubes. Okay, so that golden orb, basically they found a weird golden-ish looking blob, but then they said it was just like the base of a sea anemone, so. But it wasn't really gold, it was yellow. From what I saw, it just looked like, yeah. So under the water with the mica floating around in the water and the light shining on it, it looked gold. But once they had it up and they showed it, it just looked like yellow to me. So I don't know. There, you know how the clickbait drama queens are. Why call it yellow when they could say it's gold? Okay, so Hesdelin lights. And the ghost, so I guess they had a huge bunch of like UFOs in the 40s, they were saying. So what's weird is there was always this storyline that the whole UFO thing started with some weird stories in like the 60s in the USA, and it was a cultural phenomena, and then people wanted to get in on it and get attention, and people who had active imagination imagined stuff, but that it got started as kind of a cultural infestation into the imagination, and that was one of the arguments that the skeptics used to say it's not real. But in this timeline, they had huge waves like in like the 40s and stuff, so that just wouldn't be the case that it started in the 60s in the USA. And you know, they're all over the world now. They've had these huge waves of UFOs and stuff. So that story is like dead. Oh, here's another one. Okay, we already did all those. If I come back in a year, there's going to be probably 100 of these. When do we get the ghost lights in California? I wonder if we have any. California ghost lights. Why doesn't any cool stuff show up like in this area? A theater superstition and unexplained natural or paranormal lights. Okay, we don't want theater superstition. Also appear in California's natural history. Catalina Island have reported backside lights. Round 3-foot diameter orbs flying 20 to 50 feet above the ground, shifting colors like fire and sunset, and vanishing abruptly. Okay, so Catalina Island, which is a giant freaking Mandela in itself, because it used to be a dinky little island with nothing on it, and now it's got like a whole city. And a long bunch of cities, buildings, and a really long history of said. Calico Ghost Town in San Bernardino County feature lights that flicker on after dark, creating eerie glow. No, that's if they have electricity, it doesn't count. Point Sur Lighthouse and Bodie State Historic Park are associated with unexplained light sightings. such as apparitions of keepers or spirits. Okay, so Catalina is the closest, but it still costs like a pile to get out there because you got to take like a boat out there, and everything's expensive on the island because it's a tourist trap. So it really wouldn't be that feasible for me to try to go there to see those. Experience the paranormal side of state parks. Let's see what we got here. Catalina. See all these old buildings. This is baloney. The whole island is huge. Point Sur. Anza-Borrega. I've been out to Anza-Borrega. I mean, it's a big place. I don't think I was at this one. We've camped out there. I've never seen anything out there. I actually done a fair lot of camping and hiking. And trying to think what else I saw besides those lights a couple years ago. I don't think I really have seen anything really abnormal besides those lights. I can't think of anything right now. You got to go out there. Well, at least in the past, you know, you could go out there 500 times and not see anything. Maybe now you won't have to invest so much time. And there's some ghost stuff around here, but, you know, again, you go there 99 times, you don't see anything. Like, there's a haunted building in San Diego, supposedly haunted. Now, there have been a few people who, they run a lot of ghost expeditions, and there's been a few people who seem to legitimately see some weird stuff, but it is definitely rare. Really, I mean, if I don't get like a 5% chance of seeing something, it's kind of like you have to be really dedicated to go to hundreds and hundreds of these. I gotta feel like the chances are high enough to be worth like investing all that time. I mean, maybe if I was retired and I didn't work and I had nothing better to do, but that is just not the case. Easter Island statue faces. I don't know, those things have changed so many times, it's ridiculous. Statues. Moai. So they just keep developing, basically. They got the ears, they got a nostril. There's more than one kind, there's more than one size. They got little chiseled out boobs. It's interesting because they were more like this, I would say, and now this is like an art. But you can see that they don't have that, they're not like that now. They're less long and... yeah, they're kind of squared now. They used to look more forlorn, like these, like that image. That is not a real one. I think that's an AI, isn't it? I think those are all AIs because... that's what they really look like. They don't have the long face. The AI remembers? Or is that a different style one? 2 carved wooden sculptures on the hill. It doesn't look like it's wooden. Okay, these are Pinterest. Okay, so I think maybe something was on Pinterest and somebody grabbed it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure those are AIs, though. They didn't originally have painted white eyes. They didn't have goofy hats. Look at how fat that center nostril is. That's crazy. I don't think it was like that last time I looked. They didn't used to have necks like that, like, you know, chiseled out. You know, that they said the eyes were painted before, but this looks like there's like something added in as an eye. This is beyond painted because it's sticking out the side. That's different. Tested the soil, solved their meaning. Traces of banana, taro, sweet potato. Traces indicate such could have been used to celebrate the crop fertility of soils in the region. They're reaching. Just because you give something a gift of taro doesn't mean it's to get more taro. I mean... I think all the worship involves food and jewelry, basically, and I don't think they had a lot of jewelry. All right, so what's up with the eyes on these moai now? Chiefly the living faces of deified ancestors, also called small wooden moai. They're getting longer, more and more of these suckers. Let's see if we got something that talks about the eye. Find eye. Moai. That's not helpful. Eyes. Archaeologists discovered that the hemispherical or deep elliptical eye sockets were designed to hold coral eyes. No, that's changed. They were painted before. They were saying they were painted. Now you're putting in coral eyes with either black obsidian or red scoria pupils. What makes it white? Red hold coral eye. Maybe they had white coral? All right, that is definitely a change that there's white coral. They said they were painted before. They said they were originally painted. And you could see that they were painted. They didn't have a separate added. It is thought that the moai with carved eye sockets were probably allocated to the Ahu and ceremonial sites, suggesting that a selective Rapa Nui hierarchy was attributed to the moai designs until its demise with the advent of the religion revolving around the Tangata Manu. Oh, wait, we got a whole nother story now. The Tangata Manu was the winner of a traditional ritual competition on Rapa Nui. Competitors nominate adult men to collect the first sooty turned egg of the season, swim back to Rapa Nui, climb the sea cliffs. Okay. I do remember reading that thing, frankly. But I don't remember it being like a religion that replaced the Rapa Nui. All right, those things on top of the heads now are known to be the top knot of the chieftains. That is now official. Before it was just a theory. According to local tradition, the mana was preserved in the hair. Puka were carved out of red scoria. Man, it's just crazy. The stories just keep changing. They didn't used to have partially carved out ones originally for me either. Okay. His hair fell off. Where's his head? I've never seen that image before. I think that one maybe was supposed to get the eye things added. That was one of the other styles. Ew, it looks like a fetus or something. Dang, there's a lot of them. This is interesting because a bunch of these have really messed up, like washed out faces, and I've never seen any with that bad looking a face. I've seen some where the last 6 months where some like chunk was missing, but the rest was still carved better than that. These are real crumbly. Okay. All right, that's all of it. Some were incomplete because when inclusions were encountered, carvers would abandon a partial statue and start a new one. Huh. And the story keeps changing. All right, there's one other. I wanted to do the Amelia Earhart, was spelled like Earhart now. Do you remember A, that she disappeared. She just flew out and she disappeared somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, never to be seen of again. Okay, that's one storyline. Another storyline is that she was last heard when she radioed in near Howland Island after saying she was low on fuel, and then disappeared. That's story 2. Which one do you remember? Basically, with the detail of story 2, you can pretty much figure out. But does anybody remember story 2? That she said she was running out of gas? Because that really lets you kind of know about where she was. There's like this whole complicated story for that she now... Not only did she have a second passenger, the navigator, but she actually flew, I believe it was across the United States with 2 passengers. And so there was 3 of them in there. And then one of them decided he wasn't going to do the water flight and he bowed out. So then she only had 2. So like more and more people are getting stacked into this effing plane. And then they were going to refuel over Howell Island? What did I just say that was? Howland Island. And then there was this complicated thing where she was going to radio in and then they were going to respond from Howell Island, and she was going to use the response to triangulate the exact location because Howell Island is really tiny. But there was some kind of glitch where she could not send or something. There was some kind of receive send problem that sounded really complicated, so that this plan failed. And then she was flying around looking for the island. And then she said something about she's going to take the sun line. And then all of this was radioed in and they could hear her, but they could not respond back was the problem. So they couldn't tell her like if she was close or not. But by the loudness of her signal, they knew she was close to Howland Island. So now there's not a huge mystery that she's somewhere in the giant Pacific. She had to be near Howland Island. And then they launched a big search, but for some reason only looked on the islands this way, but totally ignored all the islands there. And the story for why they did that was lamer than lame. So it's all just bizarre. In fact, there's even a story that a whole bunch of people saw flares and heard emergency calls from a distressed woman on the radio, and then they just ignored all those. I mean, like, what the F, man? Yeah, see, she disappeared and no one found her. Well, this whole other story is how it is now. Also, the Earhart files. Have you ever heard of the Earhart files? Were declassified in 2025. Like, why do we have special files for Earhart? Like, wow, the secret files of what? I mean, like, why would any of that be classified? Somebody crashes. She wasn't carrying nuclear bombs or anything. I don't even know why that would. The whole idea that it would be classified is even ridiculous for our government. So I kind of feel like I want to blame that on Mandela. You guys went to Anza Borrega for a field trip? That's pretty cool. Trying to think if we ever really went on any epic field trips, and I would say that we went to the tide pools a couple of times, which were really fun, but it's not the same as going out into the desert. Did you guys just go out during the day and then come back? That would make sense. The official story is that she and her navigator, Fred Noonan, ran out of fuel. Yeah, because she radioed Howland Island saying she was running out of fuel. So it's like, in this timeline, she actually said she was, because she was near Howland Island. Let's see. let's look at. That's what freaked me out. I'm like, that didn't happen, all that stuff. So, Amelia Earhart. There used to be a D. I still want to put the D in there. Her name was always hard to spell, but I know there was a DT before, so this is the non-D Amelia. We don't need to look at all that childhood. I gotta get down here to the end. And she had abandoned a first attempt. I am not sure. Maybe that was in the old timeline. Maybe it wasn't. I'm a little fuzzy. Okay, so she was trying to... I don't know, maybe she had to refuel because she was hauling Noonan. But, like, I just remember that they were just going to haul all the way across. But now they have all these refueling flights on this dinky little stinky island. Took off from Lay Airfield in the heavily loaded Electra. Their destination was Howland Island. Expected flying time was 20 hours, accounting for a 2-hour time zone difference. The Coast Guard had sent the cutter Itasca to the island to offer communication and navigation support for the flight. Okay, then there's the story that there was a problem and during Earhart's and Noonan's approach to Howland Island, Itasca, that ship, received strong, clear voice transmissions from Earhart, identifying as KHAQQ, but she was unable to hear voice transmissions from the ship. First calls were routine checks, and she requested the ship use direction finder to provide a bearing for the aircraft, but they were unable to respond. Radio operators from Itasca realized their RDF system could not tune into the aircraft signals on 3105 kilohertz, so that she could not hear them. All right, and this is an interesting wording. An Itasca radio log at 7:30 to 7:40 states the aircraft had only a half hour remaining. Okay, so I guess the assumption is that is their jotting down of what she said over when she radioed. A further radio log states they thought they were near Itasca but could not locate it. Her transmission at 7:58, Earhart said she could not hear Itasca and asked them to send voice signals. The ship could not send voice at the frequency she asked, so they tried Morse code. She acknowledged receiving these, but she said he was unable to determine their direction. The last transmission was she and Noonan were flying along a line of position. I think that was called the sun line, which Noonan would have calculated and drawn in a chart as passing through Howland. Okay, and then they never heard from them again. But I don't remember any of that stuff. And I mean, like, I even watched documentaries on this. She just disappeared in the Pacific Ocean and was gone. That was it. We had no idea where she was. We kind of assumed she was probably somewhere along the planned flight plan. But even then, you couldn't be sure. So, yeah, that changed. Along with her name some time ago. Yeah, I'm almost done now. I'm going to be clocking out of here in a sec. Super sad story for this woman. Yeah, maybe she'll end up having, like, decided to go live with natives or something. Clocking out. Yeah, clocking out from work. All right. Yep. Okay. I think I'm pretty much caught up. Yeah, that would be kind of a good thing to go for. Let's give Amelia Earhart like a happy ending. Like, you don't want her to die lonely on an island. or anything like that. That's yucky. She was happy, you know. Maybe they find a log that this is the best life. I wish I did this a long time ago or something. Some kind of happy ending. Let's vote for a happy ending for Amelia. Whatever it will be. I mean, obviously not dying in the Pacific. And a happy time on Earth. Okay. That's an interesting project. We're going to look for evidence. How would we go about such a project? How would we, like, zone that into reality? I think one way to do it would be to look for evidence that she lived happily ever after. Like, try to interpret the evidence that way. Like, it could happen. Maybe she just was tired of this life, and so she wanted to be someone else. Maybe it was a secret scam because she owed money and she was escaping her debt. You know, something like that. Actually, that last one's not bad. We'll find out she owed all this money and she was sick of doing all that. So she says she's flying around the world, and then they make a big scam where they say they're almost out of gas, but then somebody calculates and says, no, wait, she should have had way more gas. And how could she not just fly back to the mainland? And then maybe she did fly back to the mainland. There we go. How about that story? I like it. Just Noonan was actually her secret lover, and they escaped together, and that's why they had to get rid of that third guy by being a jerk to him, because they couldn't have him coming on that part of the... Yeah, you know, I can write this stuff, just like, this is how it is. All right. Anyway, that's good thoughts for today, I guess, even though it's a little bit... Oh, it's only a little bit evil. All right. Anyways, you know the drill. Thank you for coming. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva, signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.